Metal is always created to evoke strong emotions from the audience. Metal, especially of the progressive variety, has made me feel every emotion I possibly could. However, it's rare to hear something that genuinely disturbs me, makes me feel sick inside. Sure, there are genres like horrorcore that are supposed to scare you, but they're always trying too hard and I can tell, and it takes me out of the moment. It's much more chilling when you come across a smaller artist on Spotify or Bandcamp who has disturbing music, but you realize that they didn't make it to try to prove how tough they are, they made it because they thought it was beautiful. And to me, that's even more disturbing. These aren't bands you will ever show to your friends or anyone, but you'll have a private, much more intimate experience with them. This is the second episode in the series of Metal for the Mentally Unwell. And as always, there is a Spotify playlist in the description where you can go ahead and listen to all the songs right now. And we're going to start with the most obvious choice, as I tend to do. This is a band called Unexpect. Hailing from Quebec, the first time I heard their music, I really got this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I loved it. The sing-song female vocals, the creepy strings they tend to use, and their song structures, which tend to not lend themselves to metal compositions in any way. It's all a truly avant-garde combination that will chill you to the bone. After the breakup of Faith No More, Mike Patton put together a team of the bassist from Mr. Bungle, the guitarist from Melvins, and the drummer from Slayer to form a group called Fantomas. This group released what I would call a cinephile's dream album called The Director's Cut, which was heavily inspired by movies like Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, Twin Peaks, and The Godfather. What followed was truly something unique, although quite disturbing, and remains solidified in history as a passion project that only a few people could really appreciate. Hopefully, you're one of them. In 2012, I was perusing Bandcamp for the newest releases from smaller artists when the band Follow the White Rabbit came across my searches. Their album Endorphenia was something that I didn't quite understand and still don't to this day, but it intrigued me enough to download it. Halfway through the song I'm about to play for you, the chaos stops, and you just get this heavy, labored breathing in your ears, and then the chaos ensues. It's a band I know nothing about other than that they're based in Russia, and this was their last release. The mystery remains, but I prefer it that way. If a band has 147 monthly listeners, you know they're doing it just for the love of the game. If they only have one album with 3 songs on it, you're completely cooked. If they have no Spotify description, you're done. Just log off. This is Howls of Ebb, and yes, I was able to find more on Bandcamp, but it made me even more confused. Their description is, within a very short period of time, Howls of Ebb have spawned a creative surge of ominous might. These transcendental relics have surely left no doubts. This, in true form, is an incorporeal, fetid, and morbid darkness. Sully your minds by attempting to explain what the sounds of the sour bogs of Mars spilling upon vapid flesh is like. Or perhaps wondering if it's possible to explain the sound of psychic cadence bombing your deep synapse. It is a master pendulum of transgressive osmotic rain. All hail. What turns you smiling? It's like these starting seeds away. Kayo Dot is a creature of many faces, words and sounds, people, ideas, all looking for something leading somewhere unknown. An ecosystem responsive to thermal shifts, air currents, migrations, unique and diverse with struggling forces, drives, and cycles created and fertilized by movement. Aerobic organisms never remain the same. When we talk about Kayo Dot, it is pointless to talk about genre. Through listening, we are gifted a revelation. There is no concept that could shelter us from chaos. Instead, we're invited to inhabit a place, multiple places even, that coexist through time and space, to enter the tunnel, to encounter the completeness of an experience. Blut Aus Nord is a French black metal band, but that is probably the most reductive description you could give of them. They feel like a driving, unrelenting force of nature. Songs will often feature powerful waves of distorted guitars over droning, monotonous drums, and some semblance of vocals, which will be darkly whispered, screamed, or chanted into your ears. It's extremely difficult to find any sort of lyrical explanations for this music, and I've tried, but it feels more like an experience than anything else. I doubt you could ever get a concrete explanation for anything that you hear, but doesn't that just make it all the more fun? This next band claims they listen to a lot of Tool, but this is certainly a lot creepier than The Pot, but maybe that's just me. The actual name is öOoOoOoOo, and they claim to be a melting pot of influences, and that's the only thing I believe. They're also French, so that fits. There's everything here from haunting, grating, high-pitched vocals to deep growls, and everything in between.
Do you see what I mean? I did so. Did you? Oh my, how I realize what I missed.
It's questionable how much of this next project could be called metal, but I'd argue that this music can get very, very heavy. Kristen Hayter had to retire the Lingua Ignota project 2 years ago because it was too stressful on her mental health to relive her own trauma through her music. Most of her songs are related to or directly discussing domestic violence and abuse. She claims that she has been in several relationships that were abusive emotionally, sexually, physically, and psychologically, and her music is a representation of these emotions and experiences. If these are topics that are sensitive to you, I would suggest skipping to the next band, but she has said that her intent is to help others who have also had these experiences, but still, I would tread lightly. At only 420 monthly Spotify listeners, this metal/jazz/fusion band called Sebkha-Chott was formed in 1999 in France. You'll notice a lot of these bands come from France. I'm not sure what they're putting in the water over there, but I'm guessing having nothing but coffee and cigarettes for breakfast every day will eventually break your sanity. There is a horn section with a trombone, alto sax, trumpet, and a little bit of Latin influence in the rhythm sections. There's actually a mythology that was created around the band, a very violent and autocratic universe with a lot of absurdist humor. The band has chosen to remain anonymous, but uses the characters of this universe to communicate through interviews. In Finland in the year 2007, Oranssi Pazuzu was formed, creating an extremely fascinating mix of psychedelic music and black metal, which results in a terrifying combination of otherworldly sounds mixed with the painful screams and chainsaw guitars of black metal. Blended with a tasteful amount of dark electronic elements, this band has carved out their own path in the avant-garde space and created a highly respected experimental discography that either leans closer to metal or to psychedelics, but never betrays the other in the process. A powerful mixture of doom, sludge, and electronics. The Body is a duo from Chip King and Lee Buford, started in Rhode Island, that has created a massive discography over the span of 25 years. Over these years, their sound has leaned more towards the electronic, almost having elements of dance music that can barely be perceived because it's usually accompanied by extremely distorted screams and crushing percussion. Collaborating with bands like the equally heavy Full of Hell over the years has created some of the most oppressive sounding albums you will ever hear. In a similar vein to Unexpect, Akphaezya also uses sing-song female vocals mixed with symphonic elements like piano and violins. Yet another band from France. This band has attempted to create a conceptual series through 3 albums, the most recent being released last year, the oldest released in 2008. That's a long time to tell a story, but apparently they've had a concept author who has been helping to write and create the overarching story named Stefan. Even though I don't completely understand the story, or even remotely understand it, really enjoyed listening to their music. It's not abrasive, it's extremely creepy, but it's not walls of distorted noises. It feels like genuine avant-garde music to me. I honestly would love to hear them try to score a movie soundtrack. It gives me the feeling of something like Grimm's Fairy Tales that has been warped into something terrifying. We're done, but not just yet. Don't breathe a sigh of relief, for you are only halfway through. There are plenty more bands to go through. I will see you next time, and it's not a threat. It's a promise.